Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to the show, Josh Poe at First Contact Radio. Got a lot of news and information for you today. We're going to be dealing with the subjects of 9/11 and Elenin. Keep you on track with what's going on with both of those. Starting off with our date for today, the dream spell date. Today is a yellow day, a yellow crystal human, guided by the seed. Yellow is the color of ripening. Crystal tone number 12, is called the crystal tone of cooperation. The symbol for today, or otherwise known as the Defcon, is the human. The human is all about free will, and the guide for today, the seed, is all about flowering. Put it all together, we have the phrase, I dedicate in order to influence universalizing wisdom. I seal the process of free will with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of flowering. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Thursday, September 22nd, 2011. Alright, so we're going to start things off here. Our first story regards 9/11. Now, it's been 10 years. There's been a lot of information that has been gathered over that time. A lot of you have gone out and spoken to friends and family members, as I have, about 9/11, and you've had them tell you you were crazy. I'm guessing, because that seems to be par for the course. With all of this information, with all of the denial that's going on, it has a lot of people who are doing the research and studying the research and involved with the truth movement kind of wondering psychologically what's going on with others that they're not seeing this information. So what we have here is a story, and this is a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, talking about 9/11 and what is going on and why people are going through this. So I thought it would be a good place to start off with a little mental work, a little psychology work to find out what's going on. So check this out. I'll be back.
At this point, we have 9 years of hard scientific evidence that disproves the government theory about what happened on September 11th, and yet people continue to be either oblivious to the fact that this information exists or completely resistant to looking at this information. So the question becomes why? Why is it that people have so much trouble hearing this information? From my work, I think we would be remiss not to look at the impact of trauma. My name is Marty Hopper, and I'm a PhD clinical psychologist. I've been working and living for the past 30 years here in Boulder, Colorado. For the past 11 years, my work has focused on helping people who have experienced personal trauma. Now, as we know, the horrors of what happened on 9/11 were televised all over the world, and they were televised, in fact, live. We witnessed the deaths of almost 3,000 of our fellow Americans. We know this had a very severe and traumatic impact on a large majority of the population. I myself cried for weeks after September 11th. A friend of mine who is a psychologist in practice here in Boulder said that her caseload increased tremendously after 9/11, and people that she hadn't seen in 10 years were coming back into her practice. So I think it's safe to say that collectively as a nation, because of what happened on September 11th, we experienced trauma.
I'm Fran Schur, and I have a master's degree from the University of Colorado. I've had a private practice as a psychotherapist and as a licensed professional counselor for about 20 years. Why do people resist this information? The information that shows that the official story about 9/11 cannot be true. What I've learned is that as humans, each of us have a worldview, and that worldview is usually formed in great part by the culture we grow up in. When we hear information that contradicts our worldview, social psychologists call the resulting insecurity cognitive dissonance. For example, with 9/11, we have one cognition, which is what the official story of 9/11, what our government told us, what our media repeated to us over and over, that 19 Muslims attacked us. On the other hand, we have what scientists, researchers, architects, engineers are now beginning to tell us, which is that there is evidence that shows that the official story cannot be true. So now we've lost our sense of security. We are starting to feel vulnerable. Now we're confused.
9/11 Truth challenges some of our most fundamental beliefs about our government and about our country. When your beliefs are challenged or when two beliefs are inconsistent, cognitive dissonance is created. 9/11 Truth challenges the beliefs that our country protects us and keeps us safe and that America is the good guy. My name is Bob Hopper, and I have a PhD in clinical psychology from the University of Cincinnati. For the past 29 years, I've been a licensed PhD clinical psychologist in Boulder, Colorado. When your beliefs are challenged, fear and anxiety are created. In response to that, our psychological defenses kick in, and they protect us from these emotions. Denial, which is probably the most primitive psychological defense, is the one most likely to kick in when our beliefs are challenged.
I'm Danielle Duperret, PhD, originally from Switzerland, where I studied psychology and psychoanalysis. For the past 15 years, I've been empowering people who have experienced significant trauma. America is a powerful nation. It has never been attacked. We were confident, we felt secure, and all of a sudden that security collapsed. People started to be fearful. With all those rumors, those news, people didn't know what to think about. And it's a very, very uncomfortable state to be in. And eventually, our mind shuts off. Just like when a computer is overloaded, our minds get overloaded. We can't handle it anymore, and we shut down. It's easier to deny it and move on with our lives.
What some of us will tend to do is deny the evidence that's coming our way and stick to the original story, the official story, and to try to regain our equilibrium in that way. Another thing we can do is decide to look at the conflicting evidence and be sincere and be open-minded and look at both sides of the issue and then make up our own mind about what reality is.
I'm Dorothy Lorig. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology from the University of Colorado, and I've been practicing reevaluation counseling for over 16 years. If we can think of our worldview as being sort of our mental and emotional home, I think all of us will do just about anything to defend our homes, to defend our families. And so I see that with people, and I saw that with myself when my brother tried to talk with me about it, of don't mess with me, don't mess with my home, don't mess with my comfort with how things are. And about a week later, I read a lengthy article by Professor Griffin about why he believes the official account of 9/11 cannot be true. And it was a very well-researched article. I was in my office at the time. I sat there and I felt my stomach churning. I thought maybe I was going to be sick. And I leaped out of my chair and ran out the door and took a long walk around the block, around several blocks, and just broke down. I understand now that what was happening was my worldview about my government being in some way my protector, almost like a parent, had been dashed, and it was like being cast out into the wilderness, I think is the closest way to describe that feeling. And I sobbed, felt like the ground had completely disappeared beneath my feet. And I knew at some point during the walk that I knew that I was going to have to become active in educating other people about this, that for me to retain any sense of integrity, I was going to have to take some action. I couldn't just let something like this go.
Many people respond to these truths in a very deep way. Some have a visceral reaction like they've been punched in the stomach. To begin to accept the possibility that the government was involved is like opening Pandora's box. If you open the lid and peek in a little bit, it's going to challenge some of your fundamental beliefs about the world.
Well, here are a few of those spontaneous initial reactions to hearing the contradictory evidence about 9/11.
I don't want to know the truth, or I'd become too negative and psychologically go downhill. I'm not sure I want to know. If this is true, then up would be down and down would be up. My life would never be the same.
Fran, I refuse to believe that that many Americans could be that treasonous. Someone would have talked, but these are beliefs. They are not scientific facts, but these beliefs do keep us from looking at the empirical evidence.
I'm David Ray Griffin. I taught philosophy of religion and theology at the Claremont School of Theology and Claremont Graduate University. I published about 35 books in my field, but then starting in 2004, I started publishing about 9/11, and since that time I have published 10 books about 9/11. You have empirical people who will simply say, look at the evidence, and if it's convincing, I will change my mind. Other people are paradigmatic people. They have a paradigm. They say, this is the way the world works, and I'm convinced this is the right way the world works. 9/11 doesn't fit into that paradigm. So I don't need to look at the evidence. It's paradigmatic. And then there is a third type of person that we often call wishful thinkers. I call it wishful and fearful thinking. So they simply will not believe something that they fear to be the truth. And I found that maybe to be the most powerful factor of people rejecting 9/11 truth and not even entertaining the evidence.
So whenever we say, I refuse to believe, we can be sure that the evidence that's coming our way is not bearable and that it's conflicting with our worldview much too much.
Denial protects people from this kind of anxiety.
As I thought about all of these responses, I realized that what is common to every one of them is the emotion of fear. People are afraid of being ostracized, they're afraid of being alienated, they're afraid of being shunned, they're afraid of their lives being inconvenienced, they'd have to change their lives, they're afraid of being confused, they're afraid of psychological deterioration, they're afraid of feeling helpless and vulnerable, and they're afraid that they won't be able to handle the feelings that are coming up. None of us want to feel helpless and vulnerable, so we want to defend ourselves. And the way we often do that is with anger. So then we become angry. And when we become angry, then we become indignant. We become offended. We want to ridicule the messenger. We want to pathologize the messenger. And we want to censor the messenger.
So how can we overcome this resistance and denial? The first thing is to meet people where they're at.
One thing is that we need to raise people's awareness about this through what I would call gentle dialogue and gentle questioning. My name is John Freedom. I'm a counselor in private practice here in Tucson, Arizona, where I've been for the past 20 years. I hold a master's level certification in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. So it doesn't work to challenge people's belief or immediately tell them, I know the truth about 9/11, but a good way is to ask questions, ask open-ended questions, and lead them into a dialogue and discussion about it.
One of the ways to deal with the trauma is to find the answers. That's why I think it is of such importance to have a comprehensive investigation.
I believe that to be the kind of country that we think we are, we have to face some of the things that are not as we think they are. I'm Robert Griffin. I am a licensed psychologist practicing in Pennsylvania for 25 years. I am a member of Psychologists for Social Responsibility, and I am past president of the Northeastern Pennsylvania Psychological Association. Thinking that we're above such things, that it could happen in other countries, but it couldn't happen here, that's a lack of humility, and that's excessive pride. And so not being able to see our dark side or our weaknesses is the most dangerous thing.
The observation that pride is one of the basic human flaws is absolutely correct. this is especially true for Americans because we for a long time looked at other nations and say, oh, they're in such bad shape, but luckily we don't have those problems. We don't have leaders who would do those things that were done in the Soviet Union, or done in Germany, or done in Japan, and on down the list. So this is a type of pride that Americans have. A feature of American history that makes us particularly liable to this pride is this notion that's called exceptionalism, that America is the exceptional nation. And that began from the beginning. As this country was formed, the people would say, well, there was so much evil in the European countries, so much cheating, so much lying, so much using the people for the ruler's purposes, but not in America. We have leaders that are free from those sins. So I think this has made 9/11 particularly difficult for Americans.
Anyone can make mistakes, but our ideals and our principles get us back, on track.
This is one of the defining issues of our time.
So we need to understand that questioning is patriotic. Questioning is what we're supposed to do as citizens. That's our duty.
When we come to the national level, when something like 9/11 happens, we need to be sure that we have a real investigation into who the perpetrators are, and then we need to be sure that those perpetrators are held legally accountable. It's part of the healing process on the individual level as on the collective level. We need the truth in order to heal.
At this
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing. What they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake
up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. We've got 4 stories for you. The first one comes to us from the Examiner.com. And Tracy Pierce says on Monday, September 19th, 2011, a 37-year-old resident of the United States spotted a worm-like UFO in the bright blue sky in broad daylight. The observer was able to capture the unusual sight on video. According to the UFO sites, the amazing unidentified flying object was crazy looking. The video of the event shows a small black speck appearing at the approximately 20-second mark. Keep your eyes on the upper portion of the image. Although the object is initially blurry and difficult to spot, the UFO gets more defined about 40 seconds into the video. By the 1-minute mark on the video, the UFO is clear and easy to spot. Seems to have a round oval shape in one end with elongated tail or body extending from it. Alright, let's take a look at this. So we're looking for the 20-second mark, the 40-second mark, and alright, here we go. Alright. We're at the 10-second mark right here, coming up. And here's 20. So looking for that black speck. Alright. Should be coming in clear by now, he says. Is that it? It's like kind of rare. It is. Okay, I'm seeing it better and better. It's kind of like right in the middle of the screen. And it should be coming in pretty clear right now. Okay, you can see this right in this area here. There we go. Now that indeed is not a round oval-shaped one, but it is moving, yeah, very worm-like. Most interesting indeed. Alright, there's the worm-like UFO. Next story. Witness report object hovered over San Francisco airport. California witness took 2 photographs of a glowing hovering object at San Francisco International Airport that quickly vanished, according to September 21st, 2011 testimony from the MUFON Witness Reporting Database. As soon as I took the first picture, the object darted to the second position, the witness stated. I snapped the second picture, and as soon as the camera would allow about 1 second, the object appeared to vanish. The witness submitted image number 1 and image number 2. Alright, let's see what these are. Here's one object there. Okay. Alright, all we get is the blur of light in the sky there, so that's what they saw over San Francisco. Our next story here comes to us from latest-UFOsightings.net. Could it be space debris or UFO? Now, you've heard lots of story about the big bus-like object that's going to be falling from NASA. But is that the truth? NASA, never a straight answer, remember. 20-year-old satellite that assessed the ozone layer is estimated to crash back to Earth on September 23, 2011. However, NASA reported it still does not identify exactly where it will crash. The U.S. Space Agency plotted out that to public safety from the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite, UARS, is very little and stated that the majority, although not all, the equipment will melt during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. The re-entry is estimated earlier or after September 23rd. According to NASA, in a short update on the website, the agency further reveals that the re-entry of the UARS is advancing as a result of sharp increase in solar activity It assured that safety is their high concern, and since the history of falling space object back to Earth, there have been no verified reports of harm resulting from re-entering space objects. So they could take a ship, they could send it out there into space. The spaceship then could come down, land in the ocean. They send helicopters to pick it up because they have pinpointed the location of where it is going to re-enter and where it is going to land. Yet this satellite that's out there, they have no idea where it's going to go. Do you necessarily believe that? I don't know if I do. It seems like their technology is a little bit better than what they're claiming here. It's also coincidental, don't you think, that this is happening at the same time that we are getting all the stories about Elenin passing through our solar system and closest to the sun and the earth. We'll keep an eye on what goes on with this story because we'll certainly know in the next 2-3 days. Alright, our next story and our last one for today for the UFO news is Freak Fest, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. This comes from the Duquesne-Duke.com, and it goes on to say, a little more than 45 years ago, something flashed across the sky over Canada, Michigan, and Ohio before crashing in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, 30 miles east of Pittsburgh. Ever since, people in the small town have been trying to figure out what fell out of the sky and into the woods at 4:45 p.m. on December 9th, 1965. Military personnel converged and closed off the crash site within hours. People could not get near the object. Bob Gady, a local reporter, was threatened with arrest when he tried to enter the woods. The identified flying object disappeared, remotely halted off on a flatbed truck, and at one point the government denied that an object was recovered. But the flash was too brilliant and seen by too many people to be denied. Witnesses to the crash included Miss Kelp and her young son Nevin, who were interviewed by the Tribune Review in the next day's edition. Kelp was quoted as saying, "Nevin saw it first. He said it looked like a flaming star. It left a trail of flames behind it and fell in the woods." There's more to the article here. It's up available. So here we have, in this last story, we had something that fell from the sky. In the same way now that we're told that there's about to be this satellite falling from the sky. However, in this case, in Pennsylvania, they thought what fell from the sky was an alien craft. See how all these stories kind of blur together? Things falling from the sky. Now they have festivals that are going on over the event that happened 45 years ago, and here we have something falling from the sky at the same time that a major event is going on out there with the solar system and our planet, and it's kind of weird, all these things going on together. And I think that rather than look at them as individual events, it's important to try to tie them all together, because somehow or another they all do connect. That is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away for just about a minute, and I'll be right back.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Underground is where they live. In the bases that are secrets here. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
All right. I'm back. What's up with their lives? That's what we want to know. Why are they lying? We're living in a world where truth is supposed to be more important than lies. Well, what happened? Did we somehow end up in some other strange dimension one day where we woke up in the land of lies? I don't think so. I think there are those who are just convincing others that lying is the way to go. But as you know, it's not. All right. Speaking of lies, we're going to continue on with 9/11 for one more story here. And this is leaked new footage. Leaked 9/11 anniversary Pentagon cruise missile footage with analysis. So you want to check this out because this really has some good stuff in it that hasn't been shown before. Here you go.
Just before the 10th anniversary of 9/11, new footage has emerged, leaked out by a whistleblower that seems to show a cruise missile hitting the Pentagon, backing up what conspiracy theorists have been saying for years. For an hour after the incident, the roof of the Pentagon had not collapsed. Photos taken at the time shows a small round punch hole cleanly cut into the reinforced concrete. What is striking about the images, it looks like very little damage considering a full passenger airliner has crashed here. There are no signs of a plane anywhere in the images. It does, however, look like a missile punch hole. After the roof had collapsed, the damage looks much worse, and some could be mistaken that a plane did indeed cause the damage. But when you superimpose a plane over the damage, you would be right in thinking the damage and plane debris should have been far greater. But if there never was any plane, then the images make a lot more sense. Let's go back and look at the footage. The first shot shows us looking away from the Pentagon. Over the river in the distance there is a strange flash in line of sight of the Pentagon impact zone. The next scene we see the Pentagon with a very low fast object slamming into the boundary wall. Note the approach angle, speed and altitude. It would be impossible for a Boeing plane to do such an approach and statistically impossible for a hijacker to pull off such maneuvers. The official story that it was one of the hijacked planes that hit the Pentagon has been disputed for years by alternative media. But for this newly leaked footage, there was only ever 3 frames of one CCTV camera's footage of the impact. In the first frame you get the perspective. The next frame shows a small fast-moving object, with possibly a smoke or dust trail behind it. The next shows a large explosion. When zoomed in, it is hard to imagine that it is a large passenger airliner. It is much smaller and pointy. Again, it sounds like a cruise missile. Are you noticing a theme here? Old photos showing an American Airlines painted missile has been circulating for a while on the internet, further fueling the missile speculation. This new footage, as amazing as it is, has not been given the attention it deserves. It goes with the many other massive breakthroughs in the 9/11 story that go against the official 9/11 Commission report. Finally, you would think footage showing a missile hitting the Pentagon would be all over the news. Unfortunately, in today's tightly controlled mainstream media propaganda arms, there is far too much control to let this be shown to the masses. Here is what a reporter saw on that day.
I mean, it was like a cruise missile with wings, went right there and slammed right into the Pentagon. Huge explosion, great ball of fire.
Wow, he saw a missile. And one of the 9/11 commissioners slips up on CNN letting slip a missile hit the Pentagon.
Worried, especially when I was standing in front of the Pentagon that night, seeing one of our fortresses pried open by a missile airplane, thinking about the number of people that probably died on the plane and on the ground.
Was an inside job. 10 years on, we must demand a new independent investigation. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you have not already. Also find us on Facebook. The link to our profile is in the description.
Alrighty, there you go. So, another piece of evidence, another piece of the puzzle that fits right in. That whole video is online at our YouTube channel. You can just First Contact Radio, youtube.com/First Contact Radio. You can also get there just by going to our site, firstcontactradio.com, and you'll find the links and connections that you need. And on our playlist for today, Daily News Stories, you'll find that video so you can watch it over and over and over again. Make copies of it, download it, put it in your collection so that you have that proof as well. Alright, now with 9/11, or moving past 9/11 into Elenin, we're looking at the possibility of another false flag or some sort of activity that's taking place out there. So we need to pay attention. Now, I show you the 9/11 stuff to show you that there's a deep wound that hasn't been healed in this country. There's been a lot of people that have been fooled by what has gone on, and the government continues to go and do activities without letting other people know, trying to fool them. Well, this is a situation where I think we need to really pay attention. We're about to go to Defcon 1. Defcon 1, and I've talked to a few individuals about it through the day as I go about my day, and people just take it very nonchalantly. Oh, okay. Defcon 1, oh, okay. And they don't really think twice about it, as if there's this strange disconnect going on in the world. Now, we've talked about this plenty of time. Obviously, there is this disconnect going on in the world. How do people just take information like that as so matter of fact? Is it because we have so much television that we watch where we see these things and it's just like another show, and we expect that it's going to be taken care of because everything's okay, our government's under control with it? I don't know. Here's an article. It's from the Republic, Columbus, Indiana. Fort Campbell practices emergency response exercise. Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Emergency responders and law enforcement officials at Fort Campbell, Kentucky will conduct a full-scale exercise to practice their ability to respond to a crisis. Alright, now, this isn't so strange in of itself because that's what happens. People prepare. Here we have another story going on. Farmington Fair, full-scale emergency exercise. This is the Franklin County Management Emergency Agency, Franklin County Agricultural Society. First responders and community volunteers participated in a full-scale emergency exercise on September 10th at the Farmington Fairgrounds. Alright. And this is one that's coming up. It's called Operation Mountain Guardian. Operation Mountain Guardian. Emergency exercise. Operation Mountain Guardian is a terrorism-based full-scale emergency exercise scheduled to take place at numerous locations in Denver metro area on Friday, September 23rd. The exercise will involve first responders from 81 different agencies. Will be conducted at 10 separate locations, include loud noises, simulated weapons, smoke, emergency vehicles, and other equipment that will be audible and visual throughout the day. The purpose of this advisory is to provide information that can be disseminated to the public ahead of time to avoid confusion or concern on exercise day, as well as invite media coverage of the event. Operation Mountain Guardian will be held at the following locations throughout the Denver metropolitan area. Primary locations: Park Meadows Mall, Smedley Elementary School, Denver Union Station, and Community College of Aurora, Laurie Campus. Secondary locations are the Denver International Airport, Sky Ridge Medical Center, Denver Health Medical Center, University of Colorado Hospital, Catholic Charities, and Sports Authority Field Mile High. The Public Information Office will be available for each primary location to coordinate safe access for media representatives and to provide information. The Denver Joint Information Center PIO will also be available. Alright, the exercise has been designed as a learning event for first responders to test their capabilities in a scenario that will involve a terrorist-driven catastrophic situation. Exercise play will occur at the 4 primary sites and DIA, Catholic Charities, and Sports Authority Field at Mile High will participate in administrative fashion to test student-teacher processing activities. Alright, so they're preparing for something. Someone is preparing for some sort of emergency. What is the emergency that they are preparing for? Well, I want to pull this up here. Defcon. A Defcon readiness condition is an alert posture used by the United States Armed Forces. The Defcon system was developed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and unified and specified combatant commands. It prescribes 5 graduated levels of readiness or states of alert for the U.S. military, and an increase in severity from DEFCON 5 to DEFCON 1 to match varying military situations. DEFCONs are subsystems of a series of alert conditions, or alert cons, that also include emergency conditions, which are called emergons. DEFCON should not be confused with similar systems used by the U.S. military, such as force protection conditions, watch conditions, or the Homeland Security Advisory System used by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, preparations that take place under the 5 DEFCONs are difficult to describe because the vary between many commands have changed over time as the new weapon systems were deployed, and the precise details remain classified. Additionally, during nuclear normal tests, exercises, or drills, the United States Department of Defense uses exercise terms when referring to DEFCONs. This is to preclude the possibility of confusing exercise commands with actual operational commands. The current exercise terms have been used since at least 1960, when they were used in North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD exercise. Here are the 5 DEFCONs, their exercise terms, and the general descriptions. DEFCON 1, cocked pistol. That's the name of the exercise. That is the name of the exercise that is taking place this Tuesday, the 27th. Nuclear war is imminent. Maximum readiness. Color is white. Now, the lowest one is DEFCON 5. We're not going to be at DEFCON 5. We're not at the lowest state of readiness. We're not going to be at DEFCON 4, increased intelligence watch. We're not going to be at DEFCON 3, increase in force readiness. We're not going to be at DEFCON 2, which is the next step to nuclear war. We are going to be at DEFCON 1. Nuclear war is imminent. See that right there? Nuclear war is imminent. Something is about to go down, my friends. Okay? Something is about to go down. You're seeing it right. DEFCON 1. Exercise term, cocked pistol. That's the one that I read from the EU Times. Description, nuclear war is imminent. Normal readiness, maximum readiness. Color is white. All right? I think we need to be paying close attention, my friends, because we are about to go into a state Defcon 1. I know I keep repeating that because I just am baffled by the lack of real concern when others are told this. We're going to a Defcon 1 state, my friends, on the 27th. Let's really, really pay attention, because as this said, nuclear war is imminent if something goes on like this. So they're doing something. They're planning something. Do they think that there's going to be a need to shoot a nuclear missile up at this space object coming through? I don't know. Is it planned that there's going to be an actual nuclear attack on another country and they're using this as a precursor? Is that in the works? I don't know. Are they planning on blowing up nuclear missiles over the United States of America and then blame it on somebody else? This, again, I don't know. I do know that there's something going on the 27th. They're going to DEFCON 1, and according to this, DEFCON 1 is, well, it's a lot more serious than DEFCON 5, and it means that we need to pay attention, all of us. Moving from this story here, we're going to jump over to Elenin, and this is Mr. Comet Watch. I want you to hear his current update because he's doing a great job of letting everybody know what's going on.
September 2011. I want to talk about a couple things here I think are important. We've had a few days of lull in the earthquake activity. We're still getting some strong 5s, but compared to what we've had since August 23rd with the Virginia quake at a 5.8, and then several 6s, and up to a 7.3 on September 15th, which is the date here that we backed it up to on the JPL model. That was a 7.3 in Fiji, and up to the 18th, which I will come up to in just a second. I want to show you something first. So on the 18th, we had the 6.8 in Nepal, pretty devastating earthquake, and since then we've had a couple days of quietness, and my emails are saying, well, if Elenin's getting closer, why have we had these relatively peaceful days? And it's got to do with what's called neutral gravity, and it's what NASA uses to balance a satellite in orbit. They'll try to get it balanced between the sun and a planet, or to where there's an equal amount of tug in both directions. It conserves fuel, and it helps keep the satellite in orbit at the right location. So bear with me. What I want you to look at on the 15th here, this is the part that's important. We've got the Earth distance from Elenin is 0.6 astronomical units. The distance from the sun is 0.49. Now that means that Elenin is closer to the sun. Now, just a day before this, on the 14th, Elenin had come through the ecliptic here. So what we've got, you've got to look at the distances here between the Earth and the sun that Elenin is in. So if we bring these dates up into these calm days, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, I'm going to back them up, but this is what you got to look right here. Notice now, suddenly, the distance between Earth and the sun is almost the same. It's called neutral gravity. So, what I think is happening is that the Earth was being tugged by the sun and by Elenin in different directions. That's why on the 15th, we had the 7.3 in Fiji. Now, with Elenin becoming not only closer to our alignment, but becoming the equal distance between the sun and the Earth. You see this 524, 521. Then the Earth and Elenin are both experiencing a change in the gravitational tugs between both Elenin, the Earth, and the sun. So all of a sudden you're in that neutral gravity area. But what's important is this. I'm going to go up another day. 0.53, 0.5 there. That's close, so we're still right in the neutral gravity area. So now if we come up to today's date, now 5.4 to sun, it's closer to the Earth. So what's going to happen here is the Earth is going to start noticing a difference in the tug from Elenin. The reason I say that Elenin is not a comet, I believe it's a brown dwarf, has extreme mass, doesn't show up on telescopes. it actually absorbs light. Now, so today's date, and on today's date, we're starting to notice some larger quakes kind of trying to awaken in Japan and in the Fox Islands in the upper fives. So the neutral balance time zone is over. We'll come up to tomorrow's date. It's changing. You see this? It's getting closer to Earth. The Earth is going to be more affected now by the gravity of Elenin. There's a tug going to be going on between Earth, the Sun, and Elenin. We're going to come up 23rd. Notice our distances there are getting different. We're out of the neutral gravity zone. 24th, 25th. Elenin's getting closer to Earth. 26th, 27th, our alignment date. Now, I don't mean to confuse anybody with this video, but if there was any way to explain the relatively quiet days, as I said, it would be this: while Elenin is in the process of this neutral gravity between Earth and Sun, and what's happening, and what worries me is this: if that gravity has become neutral, what are the polarities of the North and South Pole of Elenin? We've heard about these pole shifts, guys. The Earth sensed a few days of calmness as it's shifting. Anybody do some research on this? You guys let me know. This was when I was adding the earthquake days and the distances between Earth and the Elenin and the Sun. So y'all let me know. Thanks.
All right, there you go. That was very good information there from Mr. Comet Watch. And let's close things out with our meditation for today. All right, my friends, I'd like you to go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes and relax. I'd like you to imagine that you are standing in the middle of a large field. And all around are other people. As far as you can see, there are people standing around you. People all around the world are gathered together, and everyone is looking up at the sky, looking up at what is going on in the cosmos with the planets and the stars and the bodies floating through space. And as you're looking, there's a sense of wonder and awe that overcomes you. And you realize that life is not controlled by the earthlings on the planet. And life is not controlled by the space brothers in the ships up above. But life is controlled by the great Creator. And as you watch the movements of the planets and the stars and see nature working at its finest, this idea and this understanding really becomes much more clear. And it gives you deeper insight into the nature of spirit, the nature of God than you had had before. For you see that this nature, this life, is much greater than any technology could create. This is the greatest technology of all. And this is what the great Creator brings to our lives. So knowing that, seeing that, feeling that, makes you feel good. Because it lets you know that there is some other force that is out looking out for your best interest. And the best way to communicate with that source is just by connecting through prayer and meditation on a regular basis. And so everyone around you prays And you notice that they are all praying, some silently, some aloud, and you join in prayer. And an amazing thing happens. As people all around the world pray and look up and connect with this great universe, the universe smiles back. And there is an understanding coming from the universe through everyone on the earth that people are evolving the way they need to because they are understanding something deeper. So everyone stands up now and just imagine yourself all there, all the people gathered together, all around the world, standing. Let's just imagine everyone's chakras being turned on. Starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine, the color is red. Feel that energy and raise it up above it to the chakra at the belly button, which is the color orange. The color orange. Raise the energy up from that chakra to the chakra above it, which is yellow. That is at the solar plexus area. From there, raise the energy up to the chakra above it, and that is the chakra at the heart. Imagine the color green. And from the green heart chakra, raise the energy up to the chakra above it, and that is the throat, and imagine the color blue. And from the blue throat chakra, raise the energy up to the third eye. Imagine the color violet, and then finally up to the crown chakra. Imagine the color indigo and see it going into bright white light. Now, imagine yourself with all of this multicolored energy floating inside of you, overflowing, forming the protective armor around you. And notice as you look around, everyone is doing the same thing. And so with this light of protective aura that we have available to us, let us collectively send this energy down into the earth to protect the earth. And let us send this protection up into the cosmos to help us protect the planet. Send down love from the heart chakra. See green energy covering the planet and going up into the cosmos. And see the earth smiling, and the sky and the cosmos smiling as well. And turn and look at each of your neighbors. Look at everyone that's out there in the field with you, sharing this love and energy with the universe itself. And notice the looks of contentment and peace on everybody's faces. So just send love around the world to everybody. Think good thoughts for everybody for today. And now let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. That, my friends, well, that's the end of our meditation. That's our show for today. And we are about to cross a major milestone because this was the last of our 400. Today was our 499th show. Tomorrow, 500. So we're about to hit a milestone here. It's been quite a ride, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with more news and information. So that's it. That's what I've got for today. Go out into the world, my friends. Be safe. There's a lot of stuff going on that requires you to pay attention. Whether you pay attention or not, that's up to you. But life is asking you to now, because the events, well, they're in place. All you need to do is just pay attention. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name's Josh Poet. I'll be back tomorrow. Till then, you have a great day, great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.